Book the Third, Chapter 7 of Armadale. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Greg Bowman. Armadale by Wilkie Collins. Book 3, Chapter 7. The Martyrdom of Miss Gwilt. The outskirts of the little town of Thorpe Ambrose, on the side nearest to the great house, have earned some local celebrity as exhibiting the prettiest suburb of the kind to be found in East Norfolk. Here the villas and the gardens are for the most part built and laid out in excellent taste. The trees are in the prime of their growth, and the healthy common beyond the houses rises and falls in picturesque and delightful variety of broken ground. The rank, fashion, and beauty of the town make this place their evening promenade, and when a stranger goes out for a drive, if he leaves it to the coachman starts by way of the common, as a matter of course. On the opposite side, that is to say, on the side furthest from the great house, the suburbs, in the year 1851, were universally regarded as a sore subject by all persons zealous for the reputation of the town. Here nature was uninviting, man was poor, and social progress, as exhibited under the form of building, halted miserably. The streets dwindled feebly as they receded from the center of town into smaller and smaller houses, and died away on the barren open ground into an atrophy of skeleton cottages. Builders hereabout appeared to have universally abandoned their work in the first stage of its creation. Landholders set up poles on lost patches of ground, and, plaintively advertising that they were to let for building, raised sickly little crops meanwhile, in despair of finding a purchaser to deal with them. All the waste paper of the town seemed to float congenially to this neglected spot, and all the fretful children came and cried here, in charge of all the slatternly nurses who disgraced the place. If there was any intention in Thorpe Ambrose of sending a worn-out horse to the knackers, that horse was sure to be found waiting his doom in a field on this side of the town. No growth flourished in these desert regions but the arid growth of rubbish, and no creatures rejoiced but the creatures of the night, the vermin here and there in their beds, and the cats everywhere on the tiles. The sun had set, and the summer twilight was darkening. The fretful children were crying in their cradles. The horse destined for the knacker dozed forlorn in the field of his imprisonment. The cats waited stealthily in corners for the coming night. But one living figure appeared in the lonely suburb, the figure of Mr. Bashwood. But one faint sound disturbed the dreadful silence, the sound of Mr. Bashwood's softly stepping feet. Moving slowly past the heaps of bricks rising at intervals along the road, coasting carefully around the old iron and the broken tiles scattered here and there in his path, Mr. Bashwood advanced from the direction of the country toward one of the unfinished streets of the suburb. His personal appearance had been apparently made the object of some special attention. His false teeth were brilliantly white. His wig was carefully brushed. His mourning garments, renewed throughout, gleamed with the hideous and slimy gloss of cheap black cloth. He moved with a nervous jauntiness, and looked about him with a vacant smile. Having reached the first of the skeleton cottages, his watery eyes settled steadily for the first time on the view of the street before him. The next instant he started. His breath quickened. He leaned, trembling and flushing, against the unfinished wall at his side. A lady, still at some distance, was advancing toward him down the length of the street. "She's coming," he whispered, with a strange mixture of rapture and fear. Of alternating color and paleness, showing itself in his haggard face. "I wish I was the ground she treads on. I wish I was the glove she's got on her hand." He burst ecstatically into those extravagant words, with a concentrated intensity of delight in uttering them that actually shook his feeble figure from head to foot. Smoothly and gracefully the lady glided nearer and nearer, until she revealed to Mr. Bashwood's eyes what Mr. Bashwood's instincts had recognized in the first instance: the face of Miss Gwilt. She was dressed with an exquisitely expressive economy of outlay. The plainest straw bonnet procurable, trimmed sparingly with the cheapest white ribbon, was on her head. Modest and tasteful poverty expressed itself in the speckless cleanliness and the modestly proportioned skirts of her light print gown, and in the scanty little mantilla of cheap black silk which she wore over it, edged with a simple frilling of the same material. The luster of her terrible red hair showed itself unshrinkingly in the plaited coronet above her forehead, and escaped in one vagrant love-lock, perfectly curled, that dropped over her left shoulder. Her gloves, fitting her like a second skin, were of the sober brown hue which is slowest to show signs of use. One hand lifted her dress daintily above the impurities of the road. The other held a little nosegay of the commonest garden flowers. Noiselessly and smoothly she came on, with a gentle and regular undulation of the print gown, with the love-lock softly lifted from moment to moment in the evening breeze, with her head a little drooped, and her eyes on the ground, in walk and look and manner, in every casual movement that escaped her, expressing that subtle mixture of the voluptuous and the modest, which, of the many attractive extremes that meet in women, is in a man's eyes the most irresistible of all. "Mr. Bashwood!" she exclaimed, in loud, clear tones indicative of the utmost astonishment. "What a surprise to find you here! I thought none but the wretched inhabitants ever ventured near this side of the town. Hush!" she added quickly in a whisper. "You heard right when you heard that Mr. Armadale was going to have me followed and watched. There's a man behind one of the houses. We must talk out loud of indifferent things, and look as if we had met by accident. Ask me what I am doing, out loud, directly. You shall never see me again if you don't instantly leave off trembling and do what I tell you." She spoke with a merciless tyranny of eye and voice, with a merciless use of her power over the feeble creature whom she addressed. Mr. Bashwood obeyed her in tones that quavered with agitation, and with eyes that devoured her beauty in a strange fascination of terror and delight. "I'm trying to earn a little money by teaching music," she said, in the voice intended to reach the spy's ears. "If you are able to recommend me any students, Mr. Bashwood, your good word will oblige me. Have you been in the grounds to-day?" she went on, dropping her voice again in a whisper. "Has Mr. Armadale been near the cottage? Has Miss Milroy been out of the garden?" "No? Are you sure? Look out for them tomorrow, and next day, and next day. They are certain to meet and make it up again, and I must, and will know of it. Hush! Ask me my terms for teaching music." "What are you frightened about? It's me the man's after, not you. Louder than when you asked me what I was doing just now. Louder, or I won't trust you any more. I'll go to someone else." Once more Mr. Bashwood obeyed. "Don't be angry with me," he murmured, faintly, when he had spoken the necessary words. "My heart beats so you'll kill me." "You poor old dear," she whispered back, with a sudden change in her manner, with an easy satirical tenderness. "What business have you with a heart at your age? Be here tomorrow at the same time, and tell me what you have seen in the grounds.